Hi there, yep, that's right, Nick Dutch back on the camera again. You know, way back, many years ago, I was much more involved with the pagan community on a face-to-face level. And there's lots of individuals, everyone's very diverse, but they often spoke and communicated together using cultural references. One of them actually concerns me a little, and that's the fact that people used quotes from the film The Wicker Man as part of their social conversation and communication. They would say things like, "Well, you don't know the true meaning of the word sacrifice. Didn't you see the film?" And of course, I hadn't actually seen the film The Wicker Man at that time, but I knew that there was some kind of something subversive or not quite right about whatever it was that they were referring to. And so eventually I saw the film The Wicker Man, and to be honest, right, from my point of view, I personally found it rather shocking that individuals would actually use The Wicker Man as a source of cultural references or something to kind of identify with. Because if you're in a culture and if you're in a community and there's certain social or popular icons which are associated with that, I can understand people using those things to try and bring people together. Alright, that I can understand. But I was thinking just why the Wicker Man in particular? What is it about the Wicker Man? Some people have suggested that it's because it's such a folky or folksy type film, and it's talking about people on an island separated from the Western world with no technology or nothing to hold them back, and they're going back to their really natural roots. But essentially the film itself, what was it about? Okay, it's about a policeman who goes to this particular isolated bit of land, alright, and he engages with the community so that he can find about a missing person, and he eventually tries to solve a murder, alright. But at the end of the film, this policeman is killed. It turns out that the people on the island had actually conspired to bring him onto the island so that they could put him to death, purely so that they could kill him for the purposes of their May Day rituals, so that they could bring, prosperity to the crops during the next season. And this left a really weird taste in my mouth, because on one side of things I can understand perfectly and completely that people would use cultural references as part of their their conversations and communications, but I do think, why the Wicker Man? What is it in particular about the Wicker Man? It is a story about murder. It's a story about a community of killers who are all getting together for one particular reason, and that's to watch this man be put into a cage and be burned to death. Which I personally feel is not quite the right variety of cultural references that a group of people who are aspiring to provide, a religion, essentially, should be or could be referring to. What is it about the Wicker Man that is essentially quite so appealing? I admit that when one has a look at the way that these fictional characters on an island are going about their folksy business, and they're wearing animal masks, and they're going on a procession, and it all seems like a good feeling of good, almost wholesome fun. But there's this darker tone to it, of basically the entire community acting like gangsters, essentially, for the purposes of doing what they felt was right in their religious fanaticism. And it was religious fanaticism, basically, because they, at the very end, you've got the Lord, the leader of the community, saying, "I know that this sacrifice will bring about the bountiful harvest." So I guess my question to you is, why the Wicker Man? Why is a story about murder being used quite so much by individuals who have some kind of affinity with the pagan religions? Now, what I don't want to do here is to turn around to you and say, "Oh, you've all got to be fluffy bunnies," or "You've all got to be totally politically correct," and all the rest of that. But I just think about the way the individuals use language. I mean, I can understand science fiction buffs going on about Ghostbusters and saying, "Yeah, you mustn't cross the streams" and all that stuff. That's all good fun, all right? Because in Ghostbusters they're killing something which doesn't exist, such as Zool, okay? But in The Wicker Man they're killing someone who is a character that we're all relatively familiar with. We're all relatively familiar with figures of authority, policemen, and the like. And of course, because of the news, we're all aware of crime and what crime is basically about. Especially things like murder, which is not very positive, so to speak. All right, so do leave comments down below. I want to know, like, if you are a person who has actually converted to paganism, all right, and did so as a result of watching The Wicker Man. Why The Wicker Man? What was it about The Wicker Man that inspired you to actually become part of the pagan communities? What was it about the story of these characters that was really appealing to you? Now, I also want to hear from those who actually, have seen the film a couple of times, maybe actually quote from it once in a while in social conversation, and why you choose to do it. Alright? Because, I just want to know your opinion. And that's what this video is there for. A lot of videos themselves, the content isn't really important, but the conversation it starts, in the comment section, is essentially the most important part. And that's essentially what I want to do today, because I just want to get a feel for where you're coming from, what you're about, and why this film is so culturally important. Alright? Because it is a film about murder. It is a film about basically a folkish or folklorish gangland killing, and that does make me think, what's going on here? And because I'm asking what's going on here, I want you to tell me. Alright? So I look forward to speaking to you soon. Leave your message in the comment section. Good fortune, God and or goddess, and or none of the above bless. Nick Dutch signing out for now.